Hi, I'm Gogo. This here is my trusty Gen 3 Superduke. And today I'd like to talk to you about the triple clamps, which conveniently are now visible. Today's video is about the Superclamp. Not necessarily all of what it is, more where it is in development. I know I said I'd be done with it by the end of August, but I made a discovery that you'd be shocked about. I know I was shocked about. So I had to kind of go back to the drawing board, and I did get a second prototype made, which is the 4th version of design, and I tested it last Monday at Laguna Seca, and I'm going to share with you how it went. It was amazing. It was better than the previous version, and I loved that. So how do you get better than better? This is how. I didn't design adjustable offset triple clamps. I'm just altering existing designs to fit our Superduke, our Gen 3 Superduke, and the 2 and the 1, but first the 3. So, you know, we took measurements of the original clamps. I even took measurements of the Power Parts triple clamps, which I had used quite a bit, and somehow, I don't know how I didn't notice this, and David Labrie didn't notice this either, and we were both measuring it together. If you look closely at this triple clamp, see how it's flat, straight across? It's just flat. Look at the OEM triple clamp. I don't know if you can see this from there, but the top of the clamp, it comes down. Where you slide the forks up and clamp the forks, you know, on the OEM bike, on your bike probably, the top of the fork comes up. Usually shows 2 lines on the fork, which is like 4 to 5 millimeters that our forks sit above the clamps. This is the thing that escaped me somehow. And David, I'm taking him down with me. If you do what I did, because you're an idiot like I am, you didn't notice that the Power Parts triple clamp is flat straight across. This point right here is 6 millimeters higher up. So if you take your forks, slide them up here, okay, I got 2 lines, tighten it down, you know, there's your height. Remember, I recently discovered that 5 millimeters of fork height on our bikes is 1 millimeter of trail. So you just lowered the front of your bike 6 millimeters, more than 1 millimeter of trail that you lose without knowing you lost it. Which, you know, that's nice because these bikes come stock with a ton of trail, which I've been talking about in a couple of videos now, how, you know, it makes it slower to steer, more stable, takes more energy to get to change directions. So, you know, it's nice to cut down on that number a little bit. And I've always been curious because I've read quotes of people that I know from racing and are experienced talking about the Power Parts triple clamp. They work for KTM now. And one of the things they said was, oh, you got to get it because it's better feel. It's, you know, it's, I think what they're talking about is definitely not like how rigid they are, because these are so flexible. I swear I could probably, if I worked out a little bit more, I might be able to bend them in my hands. They're very thin. It's like paper thin. I think the difference that they're referring to, that they feel, is less trail, because we've talked about this. this bike loves to have less trail. However you get it, well, I've been getting it by raising the rear, increasing the swing arm angle. We've talked about this before. But the idea of this video of the new triple clamps is having the ability to adjust. See this little insert right here? I just pulled out this insert. See how that hole is offset? So the new Superclamp is going to come with 5 different inserts, which will change the placement of the hole inside of this oval, which will move the steering stem this way or this way, which will increase your offset or decrease your offset, which will affect your trail, right? So used to be, up until now, well, still kind of is until I get these things done, used to be that the only way to affect your trail on a Gen 3 Superduke was to raise the rear. And that's why I sell the Sport Links, plus 10, plus 15, plus 20. And that's why I sell the Super Link. Remember, when your bike is like this, it wants to turn. When your bike is like this, it doesn't want to turn. So it's like more fun, more aggravating. So that's why we have this adjustable insert idea, right? Because now we will be able to adjust our trail without touching the rear, right? Maybe you go plus 15 and you know the swing arm angle helps you drive better out of turns and you like that, but you wish you had a little less trail, but you don't really want to go higher. You're not that tall. Maybe, who knows, a million reasons, right? Maybe you love the way you have the rear of the bike set up. I do on my setup, but I can't get any more trail from the rear. And I can't get any less trail. And I run at plus 30 and I want less trail even than that. So I just tried Monday, -1 millimeter. So these inserts will be labeled +1, -1, +2, -2, +3, -3, right? So that's why there's 5 inserts, because you're going to be able to go 4 millimeters less trail or 4 millimeters more trail or OEM, right? So 5 inserts, top and bottom, 10 inserts. So what did the bike feel like? And this is the exciting part of this video. What the hell did this thing feel like with the same exact trail that I had on the Gen 2, which was brilliant. That bike wasn't as fast as this bike, the motor, but my buddy Gavin, who kind of helps me with these parts sometimes, designing things, and we talk about suspension, data acquisition, all this stuff, he got to ride my Gen 2 because a buddy of mine owns it now, just at a track day. And he got off the bike and he said, you know, I kind of like that bike better than our Gen 3. I'm going to take full credit for that because I had that bike set up so perfectly before I even met Gavin. So anyway, never really been able to get this bike to that amazing place until Monday. I've gotten it closer, right? Jacking the rear, doing this stuff, but I couldn't quite, I needed less trail even. 101 millimeters is what I've been going for. And the most I could get before was 102, 103, around there. So I went into Laguna and I felt like a little nervous, to tell you the truth, because I did really well at Laguna in the armor races in early July on this bike I wasn't really so short with the trail. And I thought, well, how do you do better than the best you've ever done? Like, there's got to be a point where it starts to go downhill, right? So I'm over here expecting things to go downhill, and they didn't. It got better. It got better than better, which is amazing, and I'm excited, and I want to show you. So I'm going to take you for a ride. You're going to get on the bike with me, and we're going to go around Laguna Seca last Monday, seven days ago, last Monday. It's a track day, so they're not record-breaking lap times. I think in the races I was doing 29.5s at my fastest laps. On the track day, in just the second session, I did 30. And I didn't even know the clamps yet. But it was that much easier to ride. The differences that I felt, most of all, was there's one turn called Rainy turn, where you go through the corkscrew, the bike is leaned right, you go under this bridge, you flick the bike left, and the first difference I noticed was the amount of time it took to go from leaned right to leaned left. I can be a little bit aggressive with the bars because I consciously use counter steering, and we all use counter steering. But the faster you go, I've found, the more deliberate it helps to do whatever you do. The more deliberate, the more like proactively. So I'm very conscious of counter steering, and I can get the bike, I'm sure you can too if you try, to flick from right to left very quickly. And it's even quicker now. But even more important than that, so you flick the bike left, and when you do, you can't see the apex of the Rainy turn. It's a left-hand turn, it's sweeping, it's also banked. It's banked. But here's the trick. Only the entrance of the Rainy turn is banked. Like, you flick the bike and you start heading in, and it's going down a hill and it's banked. But as you get closer to the apex, the banking goes flat. And if you ever I rode at Daytona a bunch of times, and Daytona has this crazy banking. And when you finish the bank turn, when the track flattens out, this energy pushes you outside. You would think that you were in a hurricane and the winds are pushing you from the left to the right, and you're gonna hit the wall. But there's no wind. You feel the air going through because you're going so fast, but it's this energy. So you counter steer a lot to fight that energy and keep from hitting the wall. The track just spills you out. Well, Rainy turn is very similar. So you're banked like this, and you're leaned, and you're heading in, and you see the apex. And because who of us is perfect, right? And I'm right along with you. I'm not perfect either. Sometimes, damn it, I miss the apex. And there was a lot of times in the races in July where if I didn't flick the bike right in exactly the right place, and I didn't always, oh, damn it, I missed the apex. And I would have to go through 4 feet off the apex, which means 4 feet closer to the outside of the track on the exit, which means now I can't get in the gas so early. Now I gotta wait with the throttle and finish that turn and make sure I'm clearing the left side of the track, the outside, and then I can get into the gas. Whereas when I hit the apex, right away I'm in the gas, right? Driving out hard, and it feels amazing. So that's a big difference in lap times, because what I would do is lean the bike in, head for the apex, and go off the throttle and hope that the bike would come closer to the apex. But what I found in July is I couldn't adjust in the Rainy turn, in that left, in that fast sweeping energy pushing you outside. I couldn't really adjust my line. If I missed the apex, I missed the apex. And it was like damage control all the way in the exit, and then you got to come back to the left side of the track to go into the next turn, which is turn 10, which is another bank turn. But if you miss that apex, and here again, you're screwed. And there's only so much time, only so much room to drive out of that turn. It's difficult. If you just that one little instance of turning to go to the apex of Rainy turn, if I screwed that up, I was screwed for the next 2 turns. Rainy at the apex, turn 10, the drive out, and then into the braking zone for the last turn onto the straight. I wouldn't have as much steam, wouldn't have as much speed. So that's a long distance that you just blew. And I blew it plenty of times. Monday, the difference with having the trail that my Gen 2 did, the difference with using the -1, and remember, I'm plus 30 in the rear. If you use a Sport Link, you're plus 20. So your trail is only like, I think the plus 20 gives you 103.5 or something like that trail. And I was trying to get to 101, 100.5, 101, something like that. So even with a plus 20, you really are feeling it. When people email me all the time, holy crap, this is amazing. The bike is just, it's so much easier to manage, to change directions. It's great. I'm plus 30 and I'm still looking for more, right? So what do? If you're plus 20, you can't get more. That's as high as you can go. You have the stock shock as high as you can go. Well, Superclamp, use a different offset, go -3, right? Boom, you're at exactly the same trail as I have at Monday, at Laguna on Monday. So what would happen? Tip the bike. Now all of a sudden I can see the apex and I say, I blew it again. But now I could get the bike, I could correct my line and make it back to the apex. So with more trail, I couldn't correct, I couldn't get it back. With less trail, I could recover. And then I'm back in the throttle at the apex and I'm going. I blew it. But now when I blew it, I only had to crack off the throttle a little bit, come in tighter, and then I'm back in the throttle. So I only lost 100 feet, 200 feet of off throttle adjusting instead of a quarter of a mile going through RAINEY and then 10 and then all the way to 11. I don't think it's a quarter mile, but it's pretty far. So that was a major difference. I really was concerned, like, ooh, what's less trail gonna feel like on this bike? Like, what happens when I go into turn 2 really hard on the brakes and letting go and counter steering and putting the bike on the ground and like, am I gonna lose the front? Is it gonna be less feel, less confidence? It wasn't. In fact, the surface of Laguna, even though it was just repaved 5 months ago, is already chewed up. I don't know, someone told me they were racing trucks there a couple weeks ago. I don't know what's happening there, but the pavement is so torn up already, not even 6 months later. So in turn 2, you're leaned really far over, and now you're hitting these bumps. And I didn't lose a front, not once. And I was pushing it. I felt good control, I had good feel, good understanding of where my front traction was at. It was amazing. And I really attribute that to these triple clamps. They're not flexible, they're not like swimmy. When I'm putting energy into counter steering or when I'm trail braking and pushing to tip the bike in, I believe with the lighter triple clamps, the power parts triple clamps, that there's a twist that happens, right? So I believe that if you could visualize, let's say your triple clamps like this, that when you're trail braking and you have this energy or you're counter steering, you're trying to get 400-pound motorcycle, 200-pound rider, 400 and 200 is what, 350? 600 pounds. You're trying to 600-pound motorcycle, lean this way, and you counter steer, and whack, you flip it that way. What do you think happens to the front end? I think it goes like this. And I did that test. I made that video at Jerry Piazza's, and we tested the stress, how much this twist, how much that twist, and stock is stronger than power parts. The Superclamp was stronger than both of them, a lot stronger. And I honestly feel like that feel, the more rigid, the less twisting, gives me data, gives me information that I understand better and earlier, like sooner. When I feel the front start to tuck a little bit, it's like, hey, I think the front's, losing a little bit of traction. It's getting a little bit blurry here. Whereas before, it's like, holy shit! And you got to recover and you went off track and it's a major emergency. Now it's a tiny little adjustment. Oh, okay. You just go neutral on the bars, comes back. It's beautiful. There was a third benefit that I experienced that I'm going to show you in the footage. The hardest time, the most challenging time for you to change direction, the faster you're going, right? Like all the centrifugal force of the wheels spinning so fast, they want to stay upright. Like all this energy, this momentum, it's very hard to change direction. Not so much when you're going 10 miles an hour, but when you're going 150 miles an hour, it's more difficult. So there was a point during the track day, there's slower riders, there's faster riders. It's just the nature of track days. I was chasing Gavin on his Superduke. I was filming him. And we came up turn one. You're down the straight, you go up the hill, and he goes one way, and all of a sudden I'm seeing a slower rider. Like he saw the slower rider in head. I didn't really see the dude. So he all of a sudden goes this way, and I have a lapped rider sandwich that is about to get jammed down my throat. So I got to really quickly react at that high speed, and like that. Wasn't a problem. Back in the gas, down the hill, right behind him. Wasn't a problem. It's easy to change direction, which is fantastic. Now, people usually associate easy to change direction with instability, and that drives me crazy because I believe instability comes from different places, right? Obviously, if you had such less trail, the bike might be easy to get upset, but my bike was never upset. I never had any tank slappers. I believe our instability issues come from the rear, and my rear is pretty dialed. I didn't feel anything like that. So I got to have a bike that's more nimble, and it didn't cost anything. There was no negatives, which was just like the Gen 2, which I love that bike. It was just like that. They're like, they used to be brothers, now they're like twins, only this one's on steroids. So, enjoy the footage, enjoy the test. There's one more thing I have to do, and I'm doing it tomorrow. I'm going to David LeBreeze. Is the steering stops. I put out a little survey that my friend Angela helped me organize, and it was a question. There was a lot of questions in there. One question was steering stops. Do you want them? Do you need them? I don't use steering stops. Tell you why. Can you see this? See this hole? Right? So here's the Power Parts triple clamps. This little perch, a bolt goes in here, right? And when you turn the bars this way, that bolt that you adjust the length of, you turn it in, you turn it out, you decide when the bars, like that's how far they're gonna turn, right? Maybe you want less than stock if you're riding hard, because if you ever do get a tank slapper, you don't want it to go whack, whack, whack. You just want to go whack, whack, whack like that. So you don't want to be able to turn the bars that far. But maybe you do. Like maybe you park in your garage in a way like you got to get around that other car so you can get in the corner. So you need the bars, whatever your reason is. Some people are going to want to have adjustability with how far they could turn the bars. So the questionnaires, most people said they didn't care. They were like me, because I don't use steering stops. I use, can you see this rubber block? I put this rubber block here. Very simple. I've put links to it where you have. So now nothing about my triple clamps hit any kind of frame stop or anything like that. My whole leg hits this rubber stop. So my bars are not gonna, I mean, still, if you whack the ground hard enough, your bars are probably gonna bend and they'll hit your tank, but you just have to repair your tank. My triple clamps never get damaged since I have these rubber stops. But I understand, if I had a really nice street bike that I was very proud of, I probably wouldn't want to glue a rubber stop on it. I probably want to have steering stops. So even though there's a very small percentage of people that said I'd really like to have steering stops, I'm going to respect that and I'm going to put it into the design. We're going to have adjustable steering stops. If it wasn't for that, we'd be ordering the clamps right now because they passed the test. But need another week to get this design change down. There's going to be like an oval shaped piece here that you can spin to put in. And I think if we design it right, which I'm hoping to, even in a crash, the stop will break, not the steering, not the triple clamps. So that could be great. Enjoy the footage. I did not put image stabilization on the GoPro, and I did it for a reason. I have this feeling that image stabilization, although it's beautiful and smooth and enjoyable, it's not really how it is out there. It's you don't feel the bars moving. You don't see counter steering. Counter steering is kind of hard to see anyway, which is another conversation for another day. If you look under here, I put a potentiometer on the steering head. And my idea is this winter, I'm gonna make some videos that aren't just about the Superduke. They're gonna be about riding. Like, what are the things that I do to ride successfully and safely and fast? Faster than the average person. What do? I do some things that I don't hear other people talk about, and I don't want to just talk about them. Because sometimes I do, and people are like, what? They don't believe me. But I have tracked it now. I have data that will prove some of the things that I do with counter steering, throttle positions, things like this. So I feel like there's some tips that I might share. If you're curious about things, if you like to learn some things about riding, maybe even they're just different approaches than yours that make you go, that's interesting. And maybe you teach yourself something. Like maybe you don't do exactly what I do, but it kind of makes you think of ideas on your own, because we all ride differently. We really do. That's why we need different setups. That's why different spring rates work for different riders. So if you're interested in that, leave a comment, and that will help inspire me to get these projects done. Because it's winter time, what else are we going to do? there you go. The new Superclamp is this close to being ready to order. Like 2 weeks. Really excited about it. I hope you are too.